So here are some of my top pros to house hacking and some of my biggest cons to house hacking. So if you don't already know, house hacking is essentially when you purchase a property, whether it's a single family home, a townhome, duplex, triplex, or quadplex, you live in it and you rent out the other units. And the other side to house hacking is when you do this every single year, every 2 years, where you purchase a property and then you rent out the room that you were previously in, or you rent out the unit that you were in, depending on the property. But first, we're going to talk about the pros. And number one is a rental income. And this is one of the biggest advantages to house hacking is the rental income. When you're living in the property and your renters or tenants are paying that mortgage for you, including the expenses. Either you're splitting utilities or everything is metered separately, but nonetheless, your living expenses and your housing costs will be greatly reduced by the rental income. And depending on the property that you buy, single family home, duplex, triplex, quadplex, some people are able to cash flow from day one. But then again, everybody's goals with house hacking can be different. Some people just want some of their mortgage paid, some of their living expenses paid for, while some others only look for the cash flow potential and paying off all of their mortgage with a little bit of extra at the end of the month. So pro number two is appreciation. Since the beginning of time, historically, home prices have gone up and up and up. So on top of the rental income, this property can also go up in value over time as well. Pro number three, tax advantages. From the day that these tenants move in and begin paying you rent, you are eligible for tons of tax deductions. This includes things such as mortgage interest, property taxes, repairs, maintenance, and down the road, if you decide to move out and that turns into a sole rental property, there's this thing called depreciation, and I'll explain that probably in another video. But essentially, it's when your taxable rental income is able to be offset by the depreciating value of the property or the building. Again, I'll talk about this in another video. But pro number four, kind of piggybacking off of everything we've talked about already, is it lowers your housing costs. By living in one unit or one bedroom and renting out the others, you're going to start to see your housing costs start to go down quite a bit. And this can be super beneficial to first-time home buyers or buyers that want to purchase a house hack or just a property in general with a low down payment, because when you purchase with a low down payment or with an FHA loan, conventional loan, 5% down, 3.5% down, the lower equity or the lower your down payment is, the larger your monthly payment is going to be, because the loan amount will be higher as opposed to if you purchased with 20% down. So this is a great way to purchase a property with little money down and help offset that higher mortgage payment. And your mind's probably starting to go a bunch of different places right now how this could work if you repeat the process over and over and over. But anyways, pro number five is you have control over that property or control over the property management. Because you live in the property and you're renting it out, you're essentially a landlord. So as the landlord and the owner of the property, you can decide who lives there, who you want to live with. You can set your own rental rates and also manage the repairs and maintenance that goes along with owning property. So being the owner and the landlord and living in the property, you know everything that's going on there, which is a huge benefit, especially if you decide to move out and do this over and over and over, because you're going to get to understand that property while you're living there. So transitioning to some of the downsides or the cons to house hacking, number one, kind of what we just talked about, is the responsibility of being a landlord. I'm just going to tell you, being a landlord is not sexy. It comes with a lot of responsibilities, such as finding tenants, screening tenants, collecting rent, managing repairs. If you don't do your due diligence and understand some of these responsibilities, it may not be for you. And that is completely fine. Just keep in the back of your mind that you are going to understand this property, and this is the easiest entry into owning rental property. Con number two is just expenses. While the rental income, kind of what we talked about, is a huge pro, there's also tons of expenses when it comes to owning property in general. There's still the mortgage payment, there's still property taxes, there's still insurance, there's still maintenance and repairs. So it is super important to factor these in when you are looking for your first house hack or your second, third, etc., etc. Con number three, dealing with tenants. I hope you never have a late payment or have to evict somebody, but that's always a possibility. Nothing is ever perfect, I'm telling you right now. You might deal with late rent, evictions, you might deal with complaints, rent payments, complaints about the rent payments. And even though these people aren't living in the same bedroom as you, you're still going to be under the same roof. But the good news is you still are able to choose who your tenants are and who is living there. And that kind of goes into con number 4, is the lack of privacy. You are going to be close to these people, which could cause some conflict. A way to avoid this is to set those expectations when you are screening your tenants, letting them know when quiet hours are. It's just something to keep in mind. And then con number 5 is legal responsibility. responsibility. Depending on where you are in the country and what your state laws are, you are going to have a lot of responsibility when it comes to owning a rental property. Even though you're living in there, you still have to comply with rental laws and regulations. When you are screening tenants, you need to make sure that you are complying with fair housing. You need to make sure that you're maintaining safe living conditions. If something goes wrong, make sure you repair it ASAP. If you do the repairs right away, it could eliminate some of those complaints and stuff like that we just talked about. But yeah, it's important to understand these legal responsibilities when it comes to owning rental property, even though you are living in that property as well. So there are the top 5 pros and cons for house hacking, in my opinion. You watch this video and you're thinking about house hacking, these are pros and cons, but don't let it be an end-all be-all kind of situation. It ultimately depends on what your values are and what your plans are for that property and your house hacking journey. Hope you found this video helpful. If you could, shoot me a like, shoot me a message, subscribe, you know the drill, and we'll see you guys later.